Let's go over now and say hello to Greg Palast. He's an award-winning journalist. He's got a new program on Progressive Radio Network. Nice to have you with us today, Greg.
Glad to be with you, Gary. I understand it's going to be at 11, and thank you. It's that you who invited me and created this thing, which Greg Palast investigates just the facts, ma'am. You know, like Dragnet, you know, ... just the facts, ma'am. So that's what I'm on. I do investigative reporting, which, as you know, is illegal under Patriot Act 3, but we're going to do it anyway. And we'll give some of the information that you don't get from the lame stream, I guess.
For those who didn't reach out yesterday and hear you, give us a summary of some of the things you discussed.
Okay. Well, what I'm discussing. Well, actually, it's about crying. I expect on Inauguration Day to be crying, tearing up twice. One, because it is a historic moment. I'm such an old fogey that I remember Martin Luther King, and so this will be a very emotional moment for America becoming adult as a nation, kind of an American bar mitzvah. But I'll be crying for the historic event. I know I will. But also then I'll be tearing up a second time when I read this guy's appointments to the economic posts in the administration. If that doesn't bring you to tears, I don't know what will. And there's been some horror shows that you have mentioned. The appointment of Larry Summers as kind of an economic czar. He was given that post because President-elect Obama knew that he would not be able to get through a Senate confirmation. This guy was the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, and the guy who fought like a dog against the regulation of such things as financial derivatives, which Warren Buffett calls correctly financial weapons of mass destruction. Now we're paying for it, literally, trillions of dollars from our Treasury, trillions of dollars from our pension plans, trillions of dollars from our work base because of these disasters. The deregulation that befell us before, we got the official post of Secretary of Treasury goes to Tim Geithner, who he's the guy who came up with this $700 billion bogus bailout baloney, which we now have to bail out the bailout because it didn't work, so now we got to throw some money down that same hole. It is, and then one I wanted people to really focus on. Those you read about in the paper, which you don't get much in the paper, are the special appointments which kind of fly by. And one name should be important to people, and you'll never hear it otherwise, except in a little box at the back of a newspaper. Cass Sunstein. Cass Sunstein is from the University of Chicago Law School, where I went, by the way. I have a dark past, I'll admit it. I went to the University of Chicago Law School, and where they have at the law school adopted completely the Milton Friedmanite economics approach to free market law. Cass Sunstein is being brought in as the regulation czar of the administration. Now, Obama told us during the debates that our financial system collapsed. He said this because of wild deregulation of the financial markets. Well, who's he brought in to his administration? The wild financial deregulators. I mean, these are the guys who did it. Now,
every one of them, including the current head of the New York Federal Reserve, who's going to be his next Secretary of Treasury. Let's keep in mind about the guy, Geithner. Mm-hmm. He was specifically and exclusively given the oversight of Citigroup at the Federal Reserve, and under his tutelage, under his oversight, Citigroup took on a reckless approach to credit default swap and derivatives, and no one knows how indebted they are, but I've heard from pretty good sources that it's around $3 to $4 trillion.
You got it. And that's no joke, because in fact, the Federal Reserve, remember now, Geithner was supposed to be working on them. Now, let's not forget something else. The kind of chief gray eminence of Citibank was Robert Rubin, who finally resigned last week. He took over $100 million in salary from them. He was the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, who in effect created Citigroup.
And Summers was mind you, Summers was under he was the protege. Rubin was a protege of Summers. And together they both worked with Phil Gramm to get the Glass-Steagall Act thrown out and all other regulations.
Yeah, now hold up there. You may have lost some people at Glass-Steagall. Glass-Steagall is very, very important. There was this solid glass wall, the Glass-Steagall Act, which kept banks which operate like casinos called investment banks, and they're pure gambling operations, versus banks that take your money, savings banks, which we call commercial banks. And never the twain shall meet. That was a creation of Franklin Delano Roosevelt facing the First Depression, who said part of the disaster created here is because we have banks in the casino, in the financial casino business, so we're going to split that off. You want to gamble, you gamble with your money. You have a commercial bank, the U.S. government will guarantee your deposits because these guys can't take risks. In the Clinton administration, under the demands of Robert Rubin and Larry Summers, they smashed the Glass-Steagall Act, eliminated it, and by the way, 2 days, 48 hours after Robert Rubin, Secretary of Treasury, got Bill Clinton to sign the end of the Glass-Steagall Act, 48 hours later, Robert Rubin got a job as head of Citigroup. In other words, the group that was the main beneficiary. Then he became, Rubin, the prime financial advisor to Senator Obama, who's running for president. This is President Obama's chance to be Franklin Roosevelt, to be a green Franklin Roosevelt.
He'll have a year to show that he can
not
do
a
it.
Black Richard Nixon.
No.
We need. He has a choice here.
Just the facts, ma'am.